All right, everybody. That was rough game. Rough game for sure. Started amazing. I mean, that was got to be one of the better starts we've seen the Kraken have in a long time. Just a lot of rough stuff though in there. Obviously, the challenge going the other way was rough. Penalties in general in this game were rough. And then Turbo, I just got the Turbo Garage shirt. All excited to show it off. Thought he was playing a good game, all that stuff. Had that great I think it was shorthanded, but breakaway attempt that he had. But obviously now bigger worries when it comes from him. Hopefully he's okay. I don't know that we'll get much of an update the rest of tonight. I just think it's probably going to be too soon. I agree with Crackhead there at the bottom, probably day to day with the lower body injury. Yeah, that's the way it is. That one was rough. That's going to sting. Overall, the game, I mean, there was some positives. I thought, like, at the beginning, the way they had Wenberg matched up with McDavid, he was playing against McDavid pretty good, using the defensive skills that we've known he's had. He just hasn't quite shown them off a ton this season, and he was back-checking really well, and I thought all that was really good. But it kind of got away from them, and then just some rough stuff. I thought Drieger was pretty good considering everything he had to face today. That wasn't an easy game for a goalie. Needs to work on his rebound control a little bit there, though. That would help him, I think, a little bit with some of those. Jump into comments here. Joshua, tough one tonight. It was Joshua. It was not a great one. Striatic, Turbo, no. Oh my gosh, I feel you, Striatic. That one, if he's out, for any extended period of time, that's going to be a really tough one for them to replace in the lineup. I mean, especially with COVID and everything right now, right? You're still down those three guys, but if Turbo misses time, that's going to definitely impact this team. Ty, beaten every aspect of the game except for tenacity. They hung in there the whole game against a very fast, physical, and dangerous team, missing Big Rig tonight, and not a lot of body put on McDavid. I agree with that. They did not, with the exception of Wenberg at the very beginning where he was kind of really playing McDavid man on man, there wasn't a lot that they did to really take him away. They tried to keep him to the outside at times, tried to limit his speed. I thought they did a good job of limiting his speed for the most part. But then there were instances like that one goal where Lauzon just lets McDavid outmuscle him. And I'm like, you got to outweigh McDavid by a healthy margin if you're Jeremy Lauzon, and you just not only let McDavid get inside position on you, but just straight up kind of outmuscle you and shrug you off like that. That was rough to see. You gotta, if you've got the weight advantage and he's initiating contact like that, you gotta go for it. I thought Vince Dunn though had a nice play against him. McDavid was coming in along the boards, entering the Kraken zone, pushed the puck past Dunn, but Dunn went ahead and he played McDavid regardless. Something I was talking about a week or so ago. Go ahead and do that if you're that defenseman. Slowly turn around, make sure you're not obviously interfering with his ability to make a play. But go ahead and be in the way. You were there already. He entered your lane. He can't go through you in that sense. So go ahead and play physical there. He did. I thought that was nice. A nice play for Dunn. Sergeant Pickles, immediate takeaways. Worst game I've seen Schwartz and Gio play. I would probably agree with that. Certainly on Schwartz. I don't know. Driggs played well despite the score. Definitely agree with that. Although, like I said, rebounds are an issue. The Kraken have decided to play the floor is lava with the net front again. Yeah, what's up with that? They were getting good. They were starting to get guys in front. it did work for the McCann goal early in the first period. I I don't know where that went though. Like they just they refused to go towards the crease. Like that was the perfect game to do it too. You've gotten 2 goals now on Skinner. You've got him. You're in his head. Don't give the Oilers any time to recover. Keep the pressure on him. If you keep bodies in front of him, he's not going to be able to settle down and get into a rhythm at all as a goalie. You got to keep that pressure on him, not just with the puck, but also with your physical presence in front of him, screening him, making him feel like, okay, I was already having problems seeing it. I let in that leaky one from Donato. You don't want him to get comfortable. You don't want him to have any easy saves to get back into the game. And the Kraken let him get back into the game. Granted, the Kraken weren't able to generate much offense in that first period anyway. Despite the 2 goals, it was not a great offensive period for them, that's for sure. Superfly, hey guys, way too many turnovers. And even with those 3 goals, the offense was once again way too easy to contain to the outside. Agree with that one. And if you're gonna be pushed to the outside, like we've seen the Kraken do this, they've pushed other teams to the outside. If you're gonna be pushed to the outside, adjust to that. Have your forwards get in the shooting lanes and let your D take the shot. But make sure you're screening the goalie. Make sure you're there for rebounds. Make sure the D knows to try to generate a shot that's going to create a rebound. Unless they think they can pick a corner, have them shoot it low. Let it bounce off the goalie's pads. Get rebound opportunities. Like, if that's what the other team is giving you, take advantage of it, but make it work, in your favor. That we've seen other teams do that when the Kraken have forced them to the outside, and it's worked. It's obvious that teams are doing it because the Kraken are kind of refusing to do that. They're not, the Kraken don't want to be an outside team, and so teams are forcing them to the outside where the Kraken are obviously uncomfortable. Make it so that you can play that way comfortably, and then they're going to stop doing it. They're going to try to find another way of stopping you, but that's the best way to keep it from happening. That's the best way to start generating offense. If that's how defenses are going to play you, go ahead and play to that, and generate some strengths out of it for your team if you can. Ty, impressed it was as close as it was. I am too. Drieger held them in this game a lot. The offense took advantage of the chances they were given. That is big. Kraken not always able to do that. So I was happy to see that when they had, high danger level chances, they took them and they scored. Loved the first goal from Donato. That's just shooting the puck. Can't score if you don't shoot the puck. You got to shoot the puck. You never know what's going to happen. We've seen other teams take advantage of that on guys like Grubauer for us, right? No reason it can't happen to them, and that's what happened there. You got to take shots sometimes, just to try to sneak one past them. You never know. Hunter, all I want for Christmas is a quality goalie start. I thought for the most part, Hunter, Drieger had that tonight. Some issues with rebound. RJ texted me and talked, and I think he also tweeted it about just the difference in rebound control between Grubauer and Drieger. Like it is night and day. And, Grubauer obviously has been struggling a lot this season, but the one thing that, we've talked about he's really, really good at is rebound control. He knows how, on those low shots, kick it outside, kick it to the corner. He knows how to redirect those rebounds away from where the other team is. Drieger, those rebounds, those were some juicy rebounds he was giving up. The puck was just bouncing right back out into the middle where the Oilers wanted it, where they were waiting for it, where they were able to collect it and shoot on then an empty net or on a scrambling Drieger. Drieger's got to work on those rebounds. Otherwise, Drieger had a really nice night. I would be interested. Do you think that one that kind of went off his glove, do you think he gave him too much room? He was a little too cocky there. Do you think would you consider that leaky? Because I'm kind of on the fence about it myself, and so I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on it too. Joshua looked good for the first 10 minutes of the game, then nothing. Kraken just seemed to get pushed around. Yeah. I know Big Rig's out. That's a big presence. I was going to say physical presence, but he doesn't exactly play super physical. But you still got tons of size, right? Larson, you could be physical. The only guy trying to be physical was Lauzon, and he wasn't exactly choosing the best moments to be physical, and he wasn't doing it in a smart way. You gotta You got to play physical against a team like this. Got to be in their way. Got to play like that one play I was mentioning with Dunn, where he stopped McDavid. He played McDavid, let the puck take care of itself. You got to do that more, and you got to do that consistently. That's the only way to handle teams like this. And yes, when a team wants to push you around and you've got the size advantage, you got to come back at them hard and let them know that that is not going to happen. And Kraken didn't really do that in this one. Sergeant Pickles' big rig missing was noticeable, as was no Gord. Yes, Yanni Gord kind of can't come back fast enough, I think, just from an energy standpoint. Obviously, guys like Tanev help. Who knows what the situation's going to be like with him from here on out. But I do think having Gord be that guy that when they're struggling, when the momentum seems to be shifting, how many times have we seen it? Yanni Gord, he goes out there, he has a big shift, and he can kind of stop that momentum swing from swinging back in the other team's favor. Definitely missing Gord. Got to think, hopefully he's feeling okay. Sounds like he is from a symptom standpoint. So got to think hopefully soon he can be coming back. Lindsay, big sigh. Hey guys, can't stay for the whole therapy session, but wanted to pop in for a bit. Good to see you, Lindsay. I know it's another rough one, another therapy session. Not happy about that, but it is what it is. There were still some positive takeaways, right? Got 3 goals. That's for us sometimes that's pretty good. Hunter, all my homies hate COVID protocol. Yeah, the players are obviously done with it. I don't know what the NHL is gonna do. As far as all of the COVID stuff. We talked about that heavily on the Patreon exclusive podcast that we released yesterday, RJ and I. We've even got a clip of us talking about the COVID stuff going on Twitter. You can go check out our Twitter channel, get an idea what the podcast is like. We talked about it a lot. I don't know why the NHL isn't just shutting everybody down. I really don't. You got over 100 NHL players right now. COVID protocol. You're suspending 5 teams kind of through the holiday season and a couple others in a more temporary standpoint. You gotta figure this out. And yes, the players are just kind of like, well, if this is all happening anyway, why are we jumping through all these hoops? And I understand that sentiment. I still think it's important, but I see where they're coming from, and obviously the NFL kind of agrees. They're kind of taking we're not going to test vaccinated players that much, so hopefully, that'll cut down on the positive results. It's like, well, I don't know that a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil situation's maybe the best when it comes to something like this, but that's definitely the route that they're taking. SJ, well, that was deeply depressing. It wasn't fun. I agree with you there. Sergeant Pickles, I tuned in at 2-2 and was excited when Susie brought them back. Also, I don't mind pulling the goalie for the 4v4 at the end. I don't mind that either. I kind of minded McCann taking the penalty, going back at him. Let him take you down. I know it's like an ego pride thing, but I think the Kraken could have had a power play there at the end instead of making it 4-on-4. I have the issue of you're not taking the penalty. You're not letting the other team just take the penalty. That's the one instance where I'm going to say it's fine to get pushed around because it gives you a power play at a really key time late in that game that you're down by 1. And I don't like it because it took McCann off the ice for a lot of the end of the game there where they could have really used him. And so I understand why McCann did it and also got the 2 minutes for roughing, but I would have preferred if he was out there on the ice for those final moments, personally, just given what he's capable of offensively. Kraken Hawk, it wasn't a win, but it does seem like Drieger is starting to settle in and become that up-and-coming goalie that Francis brought him in to be. I agree. Couple strong starts from Drieger now. He does seem to be settling in. He seems comfortable. He's playing consistently, and he seems healthy, and I could not be happier for that. And I think any amount of rest he can give Grubauer to reset himself, I think is going to do wonders for this team. I'm sure at some point Drieger will start hitting a wall, as all goalies do, and hopefully by then Grubauer's kind of figured some things out, gotten comfortable himself, and can then come back and be the Grubauer that also Francis thought he'd be when they brought him in. Gio seems to hate our goalies, always pushing players into them. That one was rough. I will say, and I know RJ agrees with me on this one, it was the right call. Gio gave a substantial push there that led to the goalie contact and obviously the puck going in. So that it's rough. Again, it's because Gio was beat. right? Like, just don't get beat in that situation. Stay on the inside of them. Don't let them kind of get around you like that. And you're not put in that situation where you're driving somebody into your goalie and giving the team a go-ahead goal. It's just that way. Refs loved them some Oilers today. They did. They did. It was an interestingly called game. I will say that. Uh, there was some stuff not called on both teams that I thought could have been called given what they had already called, especially at the beginning of the game in that first period. I was kind of surprised that they like swallowed their whistles for a lot of the seconds. It was just inconsistent, and I just hate inconsistent, reffing. I think everybody does. Emerald City Therapy, I think I'm approaching my insurance copay limit already. It's from Sergeant Pickles. Yeah, I think we all are with these. Certainly more than we intended this early into the season. That being said, also 30th game. Woo, we're 30 games into the season. It's starting to really go by quick, isn't it? Gio doing Driggs dirty, pushing that Oiler into him. Luckily, Drigger was okay, but unfortunately, it was the game-winning goal. It's from Lindsay. 1,000% agree. It was just rough situation. Gio can't really be doing that. He did it because it was a desperation thing. Like I said, he got beat, and that was the only recourse or thing he could think of to do in that moment. Unfortunate that, yes, you drive somebody into your goalie, risking injuring your goalie who has been out most of the year due to injury, and it results in a goal. Kind of just the absolute worst nightmare scenario there for a defenseman in that situation. Alex, I've literally never seen that pushing player into goalie not called goalie interference. Certainly not when it's that obvious. There have been instances like the one in Detroit with Appleton that was called goalie interference. It was, he makes contact. He's kind of pushed in, but, obviously not to the extent of this one. This was obvious. Kraken Hawk, what do you think Francis will do by the trade deadline? Trade a player for draft picks, pick up a guy who can put the puck in the net, or hold? I think probably for the most part he'll hold, given that he talked a lot about around the expansion draft the kind of 3 to 5 year plan, or certainly a longer term plan than just this season. I do think guys on expiring contracts that they're not going to maybe bring back. So Giordano is obviously the person we've talked about the most throughout all of this. It makes sense to, if you continue this trajectory, you're still in last place come the trade deadline. It makes sense to maybe move him for draft picks. Don't think it really makes sense to add. Even if you're like clawing your way back and you're back in the playoff hunt, I still don't think that it's worthwhile to add. So I think they're going to mostly hold. And obviously guys like Donato and McCann, who are upcoming RFAs, want to just see those guys get contracts. I want them to come back because, we saw what they can do tonight, and that's something the Kraken desperately need most nights, is their ability to score and the way that they score and the places that they'll put themselves in the offensive zone to be in a position to score. Very, very important for the Kraken. Lindsay, honestly glad they postponed the game versus the Leafs tomorrow with how injured and sick our lineup is. Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with stuff. Leafs obviously got it a little worse than we do, as a lot of teams do now. But yeah, I think it'll help guys help with like turbo, depending on what injury Tanev has. And yeah, just a couple more days to maybe get some of those guys like Yanni Gourde back. I think, it can't be a bad thing. That's for sure. I didn't see the first, but they somehow they can contain McDavid, which few teams can. Yes, they do a good job containing McDavid. They keep him to the outside. They don't give him a lot of time and space. They just put themselves in the way. They keep him from building a lot of momentum. He'll get momentum coming through the neutral zone, but once he enters the zone, they do a good job of forcing him towards the boards where then his options are limited. And that's exactly the way you've got to play somebody like McDavid. When you've got a crafty playmaker, certainly someone with speed, you want to put them in a situation where you can kind of control where they're going to, go with it. Not totally possible against players like McDavid to do that the way you maybe can against a worse player. But, you limit his options, you slow him down to, so you can keep up with him and you can keep up with what he's thinking about for the most part. That's as close to playing them well as you can be. when you're dealing with guys that are just, head and shoulders above literally everybody else. You gotta try to slow them down to your level, especially when they're speedy and they can think the game the way that someone like McDavid can. It was a good goal for the Oilers. Not sure what Gio thought he was doing there. Yeah, referring to that goal again. Really should have put Geeky on those last faceoffs. He does the little teapot and he wins. Weird choice there. It's from Medeiros. Yes, I do think Geeky has proven to be certainly the most efficient or at least consistent faceoff guy for the team. Certainly think that he should be in on some of these late game faceoffs. This is turning into something that we're talking about quite a bit during some of these therapy sessions. I mean, not quite a bit, but it's certainly something that has been brought up before. Alex, I know Superfly just gets called the wrong way 90% of the time. I'll agree with you there, Alex. As we talked about with that Detroit one, most of the time goalie gets benefit of the doubt. This one was just kind of definitely egregious. Rixology, yeah, empty net faceoffs were rough. Agree with that one. Faceoffs all night, kind of rough. Did a good job hanging in there. It wasn't like embarrassing, but it wasn't a great night for the Kraken in the faceoff dot. NHL defensemen will never learn to stop checking opponents into their own goalie. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously something you don't want to be doing. You shouldn't be doing, that's for sure. But, sometimes you're put in a position where that's just kind of all you have, or you're so focused on trying to body them up, trying to, maneuver them to where you want them to be, that maybe you just kind of lose track of where you're at positionally and where, certainly you're maybe not thinking spatially enough to be like, okay, if I apply X amount of pressure on the guy here, he's going to end up, there, which is right on top of my goalie. I don't know for 1,000% that's the case, right? All I can talk from is my experience at extremely low levels of hockey. And it can happen that way where you're so like, oh, shoot, this guy just beat me, or I've got like no position on this player. How am I supposed to try to keep him from doing what he's trying to be doing? And then, yeah, it can slip your mind kind of where your goalie is, especially if your goalie's in the process of moving around at all. It's easy to get caught up in, your head, especially in a situation like that where the player just kind of just straight up beats you. Like I said, you're in panic mode at that point. You're trying to save a bad situation. And so, again, should know better, 1,000%. Not trying to like totally defend it, but I just trying to explain it maybe. Remember to smash that like button. Thank you very much, Lindsay. Yes, remember to smash that like button. Like I mentioned before, the Patreon podcast that came out yesterday, if anybody's interested, link to that is down below in the description, as well as link to all the sweet merch. So go check that out. Let's see. Superfly unfortunately agree the puck was already past Drieger when he got shoved anyway. From Sergeant Pickles. SJ, sell for picks. I just don't know what you would sell at the deadline realistically. Like I said, guys like Giordano makes sense. He can be valuable maybe to a contending team. You're not really going to keep around a 39-year-old. You're not going to re-sign him going into next year when you already have too many defensemen. Me and RJ still shocked they have so many defensemen. Really surprised they haven't made a move there yet. Maybe you see one of those at the deadline. You see somebody moved out. I don't know who it would be. Like, your guess is as good as mine. If it's Borgen, Dunn, Fleury. Fleury had a rough game tonight too. Not a great game for him. But yeah. Smash that. This is from Alex. Smash that like button like you're Warren Fogle. And the like button is Chris Drieger. Nice one, Alex. I like that one. SJ, I was very impressed with McCann's ability to crawl across the ice when he lost the skate blade. That is, I've never been in that situation, but I gotta think that it's not easy. Yeah, I've seen guys struggle a lot with that. I just can't even imagine what that feels like. Like I just can't. As someone who's been skating for, nearly all of his life, I don't even know. Valentina, how is cross-checking an already on the ground Lauzon not a game misconduct? It's subjective. That's how. It's just some refs don't think about that stuff, where they'll try to put into context everything around it. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I've seen things be called game misconducts that upon review, real time look nasty. Upon review, it's really not what it had seemed, and vice versa. And it's just, one of those things. It was a bad officiating night all the way around through this one. Sergeant Pickle, it's not time to dismantle everything, but some serious personnel and tactical inquiries have to be made. Just isn't clicking the way it should. Agree, Sergeant Pickles. I think if there is any sort of break, let's say the NHL does kind of put things on hold, push things off, till the Olympic break, I think that would be a really good thing for the Kraken. They could kind of take stock of where they're at from a personnel standpoint, as you said, and where they are tactically. What are other teams starting to do? As we've been pointing out, other teams, they're trying to keep us to the outside. Okay, how can we adjust and take advantage of that? Or how do we keep that from happening? How do we keep them from being able to dictate where we're going to be on the ice? All of that stuff. And I think it's hard in the middle of an 82 game season where you're traveling all over the place, you're going back and forth, especially a year like this where maybe not everybody's always in the building at the same time because you've got guys out. You always have guys on like IR, but now you've got COVID keeping guys out at different times and all that stuff. And I do think to be able to just get on the same page, like I'd love for them to just have like a week of being able to just do Zoom meetings and video breakdown, and just everybody can brainstorm, players and coaches alike, about what's been happening, what they want to do, where they feel like they're all at. I think that would do a lot for this team, especially considering they were kind of thrown together a week later, the season's starting, and you've just been going, trying to figure it all out on the fly. I think if everybody could sit down, be honest with each other, now that they have chemistry, now that they feel like they know each other, now that all that's out of the way, and really kind of just game plan for what kind of season and team they want to be, I think that would be excellent for the Kraken. So in that sense, I guess maybe I am hoping that the NHL could put something on hold. But I think you bring up a very good point there, Sergeant Pickles. Squiggly, yay, Oilers won. Get out of here, Squiggly. Superfly, we surely are sellers at the trade deadline. And not just since today. Also, reading the Athletic article with Francis quotes last week, he certainly won't trade for a quick fix. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to do it if you're the Kraken. I don't think you can make any one trade that's going to fix all the problems you're having. And I'm not sure that they totally need a goal scorer anymore. I don't know that would be their number one thing. I think maybe having, somebody that's a little more physical amongst your forwards. Like, I never thought I'd say, oh, maybe the thing the Kraken would need at a trade deadline is someone who's got some size and uses it. But the bottom line is there's plenty of guys on the Kraken that have size, and they're not really using it right now, or they're not using it effectively. And I think that does need to change, because it's really starting to come back to bite them now. A couple games in a row. Kraken Hawk Squidly, yay, Kraken get a higher chance of getting a top 5 pick. I mean, that is the upside. If the Kraken are going to continue this way all year, the upside is you're gonna get a good draft pick, and that's going to help considering you're an expansion team that had no prospect pool to begin with. Obviously, Matty Beniers has been fantastic. Riker Evans looks solid. A lot of the draft guys are looking great, but you still only have one draft's worth of prospects. Kind of need more than that in your system as the years start ticking by. Striatic was at the game. Comments from the neophyte fans around us were interesting, asking, why do they keep passing to no one on the constant dump-ins? Maybe they're on to something? First off, I hope you enjoyed the game, Striatic, in light of everything that happened. Yeah, I mean, we've been getting that a lot on Twitter, the pucks in deep, dump and chase, whatever you want to call it, kind of attitude. Yeah, I do think that, we've talked about there's some logic to it in like a playoff series. If you're going to be super hard on the other team, you're going to be super physical, that starts paying off a couple games down the road. Regular season, not always helpful. Sometimes, yes, you're just trying to get it out so you can get a line change if you've been in your own zone a really long time. But I think that there is that general feeling around hockey as analytics and other things start creeping in, that it's, you're just giving away possession a lot of the time for kind of no reason. Like, why would you do that? Just figure out a way of working on your zone entry so that you're not doing that. And to be honest, I thought the Kraken did that a little bit more in this game. I thought they did, work on their zone entries, and they were trying to make things happen that way. I didn't see as much dump and chase as some of the games we've seen the last couple of weeks. But I do understand, especially for newer fans, not really understanding kind of the history of that and the times that it can be effective. And to be honest, it is a hard thing to explain because, as I said, at the end of the day, you're essentially giving the puck away more often than you're getting it back, certainly in a non-playoff scenario. Lindsay, since the Kraken's chances of making the playoffs is now less than 2%, according to Money Puck, I'm less upset about them losing if it helps improve their draft lottery chances. Also from Lindsay, I still want to see some wins and exciting games, but I'm less torn up about it when they lose a close game like this. I'm not 1,000% there yet, Lindsay, personally. That's just me. But I totally understand. And I totally understand any fan that feels that way. And it is, at some point that might be the right tack to take. We could easily be at that point already too. The last thing we want is for the Kraken to take too long to get going, but get going just enough that they play their way into like the 13th overall pick. You miss the playoffs. Maybe it's not even close of you getting into the playoffs, but you leapfrog a bunch of other bad teams, and now you've just kind of screwed yourself when it comes to draft position. So yes, at some point, if it feels like the season is officially lost and you can kind of just write it all off, I'm all for the Kraken finishing and then with as few points as possible. It hurts to say, I don't want to say it. Like I said, I'm going to probably be a late adopter of that if that does become the case, but there's logic to it, and I'm not one to argue against logic like that. So far, in my opinion, I think I dislike the Oilers the most. It's from Mike McBob. Yeah, I mean, they're an easy team to dislike, that is for sure, especially in the division. It's hard when they've got two world-class players that can kind of just do whatever they want. No matter how good you play against them, they're still going to beat you at some point. It's not fun. And then you throw on how physical that they play and the way they kind of push the Kraken around at times, and it's rough. Let's see. I thought the first two weren't great by Driedger. First was a weak glove, and second was a bad rebound. The second was certainly a bad rebound. That's that rebound control. You gotta try to control that better off your pad. Crackhead agrees with Lindsay. Driedger needs to not have Geo push players directly onto him. I feel that isn't an effective defensive strategy. That's from Striatic. 1,000% agree. Probably not the key to success. Superfly, we're currently 5th worst in the league, but the Islanders are only trailing us by 2 points and have 5 games in hand. Yeah, I would assume the Islanders would pass us by. Again, they've been dealing with their own COVID issues all over the place this year, and they started with that extremely long road trip. I'm pretty sure it was them, right? Because their new arena wasn't quite ready. Kind of same situation as the Kraken, only worse. So I don't think it's indicative. We've seen what this Islanders team can do in the playoffs the last couple of years. This is not indicative of who they are. Alex, so you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah, there's always a chance. Sometimes it's not a great chance. I still think it's early enough, though, that as we saw when the Kraken started to go on a win streak, those 2 points add up. If you get a couple wins in a row, those 2 points add up kind of quick. But yes, at some point you hit a point of kind of, all right, the odds are just too much against us. Shots on goal 41-17, hits 29-16, faceoffs 29-21, block shots 18-5 Seattle. Insanely one-sided. Looks like a game of survival if you look at numbers. Game stolen by Skinner though. That's from Ty. Agree. I mean, the Kraken were outplayed. There's kind of there's no way around that. They were outplayed physically, obviously, for sure, and they were outplayed as far as generating offense. Kraken, like I said, did a good job of when they were getting shots and they were trying to generate offense. They were maybe higher quality, chances than some of the stuff the Oilers got. And it speaks to Driedger's ability that the Kraken were in this game basically throughout. So there is some positives to be found in all of that, but agreed, not a good night when you just look at the numbers. That's for sure. The numbers do tell a story, and I think the game for the most part reflected that same story. Lindsay, I want to say we should be able to beat Arizona at home, but our record is 0-1 against them, and our lineup could be even more decimated by Tuesday. Lol, rip. I will say, if there was any sort of COVID outbreak on the Kraken, I feel pretty confident now at this point that the NHL would go ahead and suspend their season, put them on hold, push that game back, just because they've been doing it for so many other teams, even if it's not like all the way through. So I'm not too worried about that. Obviously, losing Tanev hurts. Big rig, we'll see. And then, there's possibility of other guys coming back. Like, it could happen. But I agree. The last game against Arizona, I mean, that still stings. I'm not sure it'll ever not sting. That was a really rough game, and so yes, there is some worry there. JMG, got to keep reminding myself they're an expansion team going to be a roller coaster all season. Yes, and there is something to be said for the roller coaster of emotions, right? I mean, they play with us, they toy with our emotions, they make us hopeful, and then they'll take that away. But got to remember to enjoy the ride. I know nights like tonight are not fun. We've been having way too many therapy sessions. None of us wanted that. But it's seasons are up and down, and as an expansion team and an expansion season, things could be so much worse. We at least had hope, and we can still have hope. Previous expansion teams, you look back through history, like, they didn't have any hope. You just knew your team was going to suck, and it was going to probably be 3 years before you were any good. And that was just that. At least we had hope for the Kraken, and we can still have hope. And we feel like we're competitive night in, night out, for the most part. So that's important, I think. Going to go ahead and bring in RJ here. So just give me 1 second. Okay, RJ, how's it going?
Going all right. That was a tough one. I mean, I don't know, man. It was a fun start, and one thing I noticed is right off the bat, the crowd was just about as loud as it has ever been. Like after that fight,
Mm-hmm.
and then the goal right after it. Like I was just ready. Okay, we're in for a really fun one, and the momentum didn't really carry its way all the way through the game. Um, but there were definitely still some fun moments in an otherwise rough game, and I think I don't know. You've also got to just sit back and enjoy the fact that there's hockey to watch. You can't really take that for granted given all of today's events. And I think that's just kind of the number one thing that I did was just kind of relaxed and enjoyed the fact that I got to watch a hockey game live because I don't know when the next one of these I'm going to is.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit recently, the COVID stuff, and the idea that maybe the Krakens at any time things could kind of be put on pause for them, and also interesting that you kind of came in with that kind of positive mindset too, because I was just talking about that. We're just talking about them being an expansion team, but maybe not quite like expansion teams in the past, in the sense
Right.
that while they're not performing very well, there's at least there was hope, and there still is hope, kind of on a nightly basis, that the team can be competitive. And that that's something worth
Absolutely.
clinging on to.
Yep. I mean, they've shown what they're capable of, and we saw it last game against the Oilers, and this one was close for for a
Mm-hmm.
while into the third.
Yeah. Jumping back over to chat, Sergeant Pickles, I feel like despite the results of the coach's challenge, we were denied an opportunity for an epic Wes McCauley moment.
I know, right? Maybe if it was some kind of going the other way, where if the Kraken had gotten a goal waved off and then it would have been a goal, I think he probably would have leaned into it a little bit more.
Yeah. Ty, all I wanted for Christmas was a Donnie goal, maybe for my birthday instead. Lol. It's it's gonna be so miraculous when it happens.
Yes, we are. It's just going to be the best time. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
So
Uh,
the longer the build up, the more crazy it's going to be.
for sure. Everybody, keep that champagne on ice. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep.
Uh, uh, Got some fool named RJ in here. Mark Giordano on the Oilers goal to make it 4-3 in the third period. I pushed the guy. Maybe I should have laid off a bit. He did add that he needs to go look at it again. I talked about it a little bit from a defenseman perspective of, look, the guy's got total position on you. You're in desperation mode. Maybe you lose track about the goalie. You're just trying to figure out some way of stopping him at that point, and you're not in a position to actually stop him in any way.
Yep. And and then, pushing, giving that shove, it's kind of the chaos option. Mm-hmm. And, when you're already kind of beat positionally like that, the chaos option, it might be an improvement. It's probably not a whole lot worse than the alternative.
Yeah. A good question here from Hunter. Do you think the NHL will change the COVID-19 protocol to allow asymptomatic players to play? Seems like a lot of players who catch it or are close contacts don't have any symptoms. To this, I think I could see the NHL following the NFL's footsteps, where, at least for vaccinated asymptomatic players, they are not going to be testing them, so they just don't know, and they can just kind of have the plausible deniability of it and keep, everything going.
Agree. I think that's what the NFL announced today that they're going to go ahead and do. They've kind of been the first mover on a lot of these, and certainly given that another major pro sports league has done it, I think that opens it up for the NHL to maybe do something similar. Although I think they might get a little bit more backlash than the NFL did, just given the nature of the media and the fans for both of those sports. But I think that ultimately is probably where it's going.
That, and the NHL has to deal with 2 federal governments. And
that is true.
That throws a lot of wrench in the works.
It does. But I mean, and I wasn't inclined to believe that that would happen necessarily. But also hearing Steve Yzerman today talk about it, the Red Wings GM, and he seemed very much on board with that sort of thing. So
that was surprising for me as well.
A couple walking by in Leafs jerseys behind here. I saw several fans in Leafs jerseys. I mean, it sucks. You're in town for the game. You probably want to catch both, but
that's a rough one. Lindsay, I really am optimistic about the Kraken's chances next year with Matty Beniers and hopefully trading for some new players, but we got to get through the rest of the season first, Cy. It's going to be rough. A lot of talk about, okay, we're 30 games in now, RJ. Season's still not quite picking up. Talked about how really at this point the nightmare scenario is the idea of the Kraken turn it on, but too late, and you end up picking 13th or something.
Right. I mean, that's the place you don't want to be. Right up there with the Sharks for that spot.
That's what we want, right? We want to be the Calgary Flames circa 2007, right? That's the best spot to be in. Valentina, shots on goal comparison was an embarrassment. We can be so much better. The numbers on this one, RJ, I mean, they tell kind of the same story as the game, even though the score maybe doesn't.
Yep, it's like the Kraken went up, got 2-0 lead, and then score effects lasted the whole rest of the game, regardless of the score.
Exactly. A lot of talk about the physicality tonight, too. The Kraken just got out-muscled at every opportunity. I know Big Rig's out, but as I was kind of saying earlier, Big Rig doesn't exactly throw his body around too much either. Like, the Kraken got to get more physical. They have the size for it.
Yep. And I think it's one where they were kind of goaded into it, and it got physical early. Mm-hmm. And it seemed initially, when the Kraken had the lead, they were getting under the Oilers' skin. But then as soon as that turned around, so did the dynamic of the physicality and all of that, where all of a sudden the Kraken started being undisciplined, taking undisciplined penalties. Mm-hmm. And against the Oilers, you just cannot afford that.
Yeah, no. I tried to explain that to somebody who walked in the room while I was watching the game. I was like, when it was like 2-2, I was like, Kraken, they were up 2-0, and then they decided to give the Oilers a bunch of power plays. So that's just kind of what happened. JMG, really need to move on from Geo. We'll see at the trade deadline. Crackhead, wow, 30 games already. I know, it's going by fast now, RJ. Yep. Alex, gotta love naming a captain we're likely trading as a foregone conclusion 30 games in. Expansion teams. There's always something.
Yep.
There's always something.
There's always some wrinkle that's not ideal.
Beniers can't come soon enough. Agree with that one, Valentina. Lindsay, it's a bad look trading our first ever captain, but I think that Geo needs to go. I think it's time to say goodbye to the old man and the sea. Yeah, and I like the play on words there. It's Lindsay at the end. But and it's not so much about like, oh, we just gotta punt on this guy. It's he's terrible or anything. But it's also about like being realistic about, okay, older player. We're obviously now thinking long term, given that the situation that they're in. And you do also want to give him a chance to go be competitive somewhere. Like it benefits him to do that too, if he wants to go. I mean, it's entirely possible he wants to just stay and kind of ride it out here, and I do think the Kraken should
Yeah.
consider that.
But he is a 38-year-old still in
Hmm.
search of a Stanley Cup, and
Yeah,
that's got to be a motivation.
yeah, and I think everybody would kind of understand where everybody would be
Yeah.
coming from in that situation. When it makes sense for both
Yeah.
sides, it just makes sense. Naming
Yeah.
captain in season one made no sense in the first place. That's from Superfly. I mean, I was surprised that they named a captain.
I was too. I mean, we both kind of said we didn't
Hmm.
see that coming. We didn't think that was going to happen. But yeah, at the end of the day, the guys just felt that they kind of wanted that kind of leader in their locker room, and I don't know. It's their choice, and it's, I guess, theirs to the players to make
Yeah,
and live with.
yeah. Striatic here. So I've got two thoughts on this one. Striatic, ultimately blowing a 2-0 lead versus a team basically one more COVID scratch away from game postponements isn't acceptable. So on the one hand, I totally agree, and I do think that the Kraken got out mentalityed a lot in this one. Right, they got sucked into playing the way the Oilers wanted them to. They got out muscled, all that stuff. The only thing I will give the Oilers credit for is that they have both Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Yes, and that's important.
It is important. But otherwise, I agree with that for the most part.
Hey, go ahead. Sorry, I guess someone coming through here.
Yeah. SJ, I do love to watch Donato play. He's really fun to watch. God, I know. I love this.
Yes, it's so great. I mean, he's doing everything you want someone to do, and everything this team needs more of. Crashing the net, shooting the puck. I mean, you texted me. I don't know if you mentioned, you texted me right after that
Mm-hmm.
goal. Like, just good things happen when you put the puck on net, and
Yep.
it's so true. And and he's the only guy who's consistently doing that for the Kraken, over the whole course of the season. And he's being rewarded for it.
Yeah, totally, for sure. Absolutely love that that's happening for him. Given the state his career was in. Never thought I'd be this excited for Ryan Donato. Who
Yeah.
knew?
We got him as one of the media availabilities after the game, and he's
Oh,
just like,
nice.
I'm just trying to shoot as much as I can and pray that it goes in, and like they're going in.
Exactly. That's the way you got to play sometimes. Let's see. Donato's been around the league for some time. It's great to see him finding possible forever home in Seattle. It's from Kraken Hawk. 1000% agree. I think we can all be happy. And again, that's one of those things, right? Yes, maybe wins and losses isn't what we wanted it to be as an expansion team, but these, not I guess they're kind of human interest stories, are fun, and that is something that's exciting about being an expansion team and all of that. So, guys like him and Tanev, having them around, all that stuff. So, always reasons to watch and still follow the team. Lindsay, if we do name a new captain, who do you think our new captain should be? I think Tanev is a fan favorite, but I also like Gord too for the energy he brings. Also, okay, not naming a captain for a while. We talked about this a little bit last time. You had said Gord.
We did. Mm-hmm. That'd be my pick.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think it ultimately makes the most sense for them.
And a big part of that is also taking on a lot of the media responsibilities
Mm-hmm.
as well. And Gord has been someone that they've kind of consistently will throw out there, even especially on kind of bad nights.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like he might be up for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of seen and done it all, so it makes a
Yep.
lot of sense. And then also from Lindsay, Donato is quickly becoming one of my favorite players too. Love his no quit attitude. I agree. I mean, he was a player in, kind of backed into a corner from a career standpoint. He knew
Mm-hmm.
this was his last chance most likely, and he's taken advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And who can't get behind that? Ty brings up Adam Larson for potential
Mhm.
captain, I would assume. And then Lindsay, Larson is a good option too. The calm and steady Swede has been solid all season. We talked about him when we talked about potential captains, but I don't know. I don't know if he's necessarily like I don't know about what he's like in the locker room, but I don't know that he's necessarily vocal enough, or he's more of like a lead by example type guy.
Yeah, agreed.
Alex, we'll never forget Braden Point getting a penalty called against the ECF for being cross-checked from behind into the goalie on a breakaway. Happened against Florida too, ironically. Yeah, I remember that one too. They're trying to be defensive minded. Also, Gord would be great. Agreed. Okay. Irish Lad. Trading Geo is obvious, but it is the other expiring contracts to look at. Yarncroak should also be traded for a pick. He really has not fit in any role. Johansson, do you re-sign him? Blackwell. I would agree. I agree with the Yarncroak one, because we've talked about several times. He's just not quite clicking. So if a contender wants him, he's the kind of guy that you could maybe get a decent draft pick for.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think there'd be a lot of interest in him, around the league.
Yeah. Kraken Hawk. If the Kraken keep playing this way, ECH will have to start doing NHL draft prospect discussions by February. I mean, I enjoyed.
Oh no.
I enjoyed doing those, so maybe not the worst thing in the world for me, but yes, certainly not what we planned and would like to have happen.
Yeah, with you on board, we're well suited for it, but hopefully we don't have to get to that point.
Yes. Irish Lad, Beniers and True will take up 2 roster spots. Is there any cap room left after raises to all the RFAs, especially McCann? I think there will be. There's going to be cap space. Yeah. Medeiros,
and remember, Giordano's,
exactly.
That's a big ticket as well.
That's what I was thinking. Medeiros, stat-wise, PG and CD had similar save percentages against the Oilers games 2 and 3, and they were both decently strong games for us in terms of choking the Oilers a bit. I agree. Last 2 games played the Oilers really well, and that's huge. Not everybody can do it, but I already brought up your talk about the roster, the rebound control, because that was an issue.
Yep, for sure. So here, real quick, I may have noticed me taking a walk here.
Yeah.
I want to show you guys something. I don't know if you can really see it, but there's a tentacle up there.
Mm-hmm.
This is up in the rafters with some little shards of ice looking things there.
Yeah.
I thought they might lower it for this game. They didn't, but that's something I'm pretty sure we're going to see in the future. But while it's here, I wanted to give you guys a look at it.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good. It's fun. Everything's starting to come together from the in arena experience stuff there. Did a lot of, well, I guess you weren't really in the crowd, so I don't know if a lot of people were noticing it and talking about it. I didn't really see anything. I saw
there was.
Go for it.
Yeah, there was nothing on Twitter that I noticed. I noticed it this morning, but I didn't want to, say anything in case, because it looked like it was supposed to be, not really looked at. But
yeah.
But yeah, if it's still up there during the game when anyone can see it, I figure we're fair game. But I noticed one post on Reddit, but I didn't see anything on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't either. So fun.
But I figured for post game, all of you should be able to see it.
Yeah, a fun little look for everybody there. Let's see, Alex, they should have plenty of cap space. None of the RFAs have earned super crazy raises. Agree with that. Irish Lad, not sure why Borgen is in the doghouse. Any insight? Not at all. All we can go off of is what Hackstall has said, which is that, basically he plays the guys that are playing the best in practice in the games kind of thing. So,
yep,
no idea. Lindsay, all right, Squid Squad, I need to be awake in 6 hours, so I'm off to bed. Sweet dreams of the 2022-2023 Kraken season. Bye, Lindsay. But wow, man, pessimistic tonight, Lindsay. But also, I guess, hopeful long term. So I get it.
Yep.
Superfly, trade candidates are Gio, Johansson, Yarncroak, Blackwell, and at least one of those other defensemen, and maybe Donskoy. Also, try and make an extension for McCann happen. Yeah, I mean, do you think Francis is, or at least these players too, are just people that aren't into the idea of talking extensions mid-season?
I think that's probably the case. There are definitely some GMs and some players that kind of take that approach, and you don't want it to be a distraction or anything. So I think that's probably the case, and certainly with McCann, I think it's one of those where both sides might want to just wait to see how the season plays out.
yeah, I think it makes sense for both, and that's it.
McCann's got so yeah, it makes sense.
And I will say, if they trade Gio, I don't know that you then need to move a defenseman. So I think if you're going to make, I think that's one position where you're only making one trade. Let me go down. Got a super chat from Medeiros. Thank you so much. I got to open my secret.
Thank you.
I got to open my Secret Santa Gru shirt, so I'll be rotating that in the Geeky Squad on game days at work. Happy to rep the merch. Yes, thank you so much. We've been talking merch a little bit. RJ,
you,
got my Tanev Turbo Garage shirt on.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You picked those up today, right? Yeah.
Yep. So excited get to wear those through all these broadcasts and everything. A lot of fun, and happy you get to rock that Crew shirt. Hope you're happy with it. Let's see. Where was I? Up here. Donskoy is an off-season trade, in my opinion. It's from Alex Stratic. Lazon did a dangerous boarding check, no call, just opposing roughing calls. A few minutes later, Nurse made a dangerous boarding check, no call. These refs weren't protecting the players, and that's something we're seeing league-wide.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, there was the Dallas play earlier today. Brett Conley on Caro, right? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Tanner Caro, yeah.
Yeah. That one was nasty. Not necessarily a dirty play in that one, but we've seen a lot of, not good looking stuff this year. And I do.
No, it's not something we want to see. Yeah.
No, and in other cases we've seen stuff where the refs are maybe not controlling the game in the best way, and it's led to problems. Mm-hmm. Obviously, look at the Winnipeg Toronto situation from a week or so ago, week and a half ago. So I do think that that's something. Again, maybe if the NHL puts the season on hold, regroup with all the refs, kind of come to some sort of consistent understanding, and let the teams know too. I hate when they do that and all the officials will get together and everybody gets on the same page there, and then they forget to tell the teams. It makes no sense.
Yep.
Everybody should be working in the interest of player safety, regardless of their overall situation. Ty, I use alcohol to fight COVID when I'm there. Lol. $16 virus killers.
Oh, yep. It's not cheap.
Yeah, that's like the Purell back when the whole thing started, right? That's those inflated prices. Daros, I'm thinking maybe Schwartz or Eberle. That could be because they give me dad energy. I like that one for the potential captain. Valentina Donato needs a big pay bump. His contract is a joke, extremely efficient. I mean, there's a reason he was given that, given his previous career performance. And, there's reason to think maybe he's just the Kraken's, Karlsson from Vegas, William Karlsson. Comes out, scores 41 goals way out of nowhere. They gave him a big extension. Maybe not always living up to it. That being said, he's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, I think it looked like a steal at the time, and it's just been fair.
Yeah. I did miss one or two things up here. I'll go back up here. Let's see. You're right, Dylan. We need some more sandpaper because only Lauzon is actually bringing that. Yeah, it's a problem. It's me pining after Gabe Landeskog on the Kraken again. I know that one's still been cool. Superfly, yeah, to me, I'd like to see us either making the playoffs or getting a top 5, top 7 pick. And given how this season has gone so far, that high draft pick would be good timing. Agree with that one. Sergeant Pickles had to take off. Night, Sergeant Pickles. Alex, historically, you need one franchise center, a second elite center, at least one elite winger, 2 to 3 elite defensemen, and an elite goalie to win a cup. We have maybe one of those. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
Spoken like a true Lightning fan.
I was going to say, I don't know that you always need all that. You certainly need that for consistent winning. But we've seen teams come through. I do think you need an elite center. That's for sure. I think you can get away with just having a hot goalie. They don't need to be an elite goalie.
Yeah.
And I think if you have a complete defense that kind of plays, a solid team game where everyone understands what they're trying to do, I think you can get away with that too.
Yep.
And wingers, you just need some finishers. I don't know that they need to be elite. I don't know that they need to be like a Mark Stone that's going to go out there and be a defensive shutdown guy or anything either. But I do think center depth
be able to score goals.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Tough one tonight. This is from Brian. Thanks, fellas, for all you do for the Kraken community. Like, subscribe, and merch. If y'all like podcasts, be an ECH patron because that was top notch. Good night, fam bam. Good night, Brian. Thanks for all those shout outs.
Thank you so much, Brian.
JMG asking mascot. Anything?
Mascot, no clues. I've got no hints. I'm sorry. The only thing I had in my back pocket was like the tentacle thing I just showed you.
Yeah.
So that's like, we'd seen that down below for a while, but like it's the only thing I had. No clues on a mascot. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Ty Jacobs, 30 in standing, 10, 17, 3. And I can't really say I'm upset. I've watched or been to every game so far, and I'm fully stoked. We have hockey in Seattle, and they're actually fun to watch. Let's keep cracking. Love the attitude, Ty. I'm right there with you on that one. It's hockey in Seattle. Yeah, record is what it is. But like I was saying earlier, there's still plenty of stuff just to be excited about and enjoy during this expansion season.
Yeah, I mean, remember, for years you're just waiting. Like the biggest news was, oh, they moved some trees outside Key Arena.
Yeah.
That was the biggest news of the day. We're getting real games. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be happy with that.
Yes. Brian, RJ, sorry I'm late, but did you find that special room for oversensitized people who need a break? And then Stratic down there. Brian, my kid used the sensory room today. It really helped her get through the super crazy loud pregame and between periods. So really happy, Stratic, that you were able to take advantage of that and it was able to help her.
Yes, and I did actually go to the sensory room. I did look. I checked it out. Yeah, it's on that suite level, as I think was mentioned earlier. And it's just kind of one room. There's one door. You go in. It's just this little room with some kind of like lights in it. Kind of dimly lit. Just a few lights in it. I was surprised to see there was just kind of the one room. Like when I got there, I said, "Oh, can I look inside?" And they're like, "Well, no, there's someone in there, and then there was another person just kind of waiting for it too." So if you've got more than one person in the entire arena, it kind of becomes a problem.
Yeah.
But I asked, is there another one? Is there something around? And I was told that was the only one. So
Okay.
that's kind of the only issue I took with it. The room itself was nice, but the fact there was only one seems like maybe not enough.
Yeah, Stratic said, I got a picture of the sensory room. I'll post it under an ECH Twitter post. It's very interesting looking, very small, like closet sized, but quiet and calming.
Yeah.
So glad it's effective, but yes, maybe multiples of those could be nice.
Yeah. It did look like a closet, like the size one. Yeah.
Yeah. Jumping back up to Ty, my local WHL team, the Portland Winterhawks. Might know a thing or two about them.
Oh, here we go.
Replicated the Anaheim crazy over the net goal tonight. So cool to see the influence make its way around hockey. Oh boy, Ty, and we talked about that a lot on that Patreon pod just to promote that one more time. Yes, love to see it. Love for my Winterhawks to get some love, obviously.
And that one was in a ton of traffic too. I mean, that one was really impressive.
It was. I would consider it more impressive personally.
Yeah.
Medeiros, do you know why the NHL is so secretive about injuries, only specifying upper or lower body? No, because coaches like control and secrecy and anything that it's going to give them an advantage. Because, when everybody knows Kucherov's ribs are broken, but you just say an upper body injury, maybe someone will forget at some point.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's where we're at.
Yep. Rexology, I think you have to consider the Conley hit on Caro a dirty hit. The puck is clearly passed and the player is not expecting a hit. Was intention there? Maybe not, but it was way late. Yes, I will say, I only just saw it briefly on Twitter. I didn't totally go into it or anything. Agree, I'm sure there is no intent there. So yes, I'll take another look at it. Late hits are rough. Because, as you said, players aren't always expecting it at that point. When the play is past you, you're defenseless. There's no other way to put it that way. And then Striatic, they need one on the other side of the building. I'll definitely send feedback to Climate Pledge Arena. It's small enough they should be able to fit another one somewhere. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I without really seeing it or anything, I can just agree with that. I think it's awesome that they included one at all, because a lot of arenas don't, at least in as far as I know. But yeah, you want to make sure that when you have a service like that, you have enough for everybody who needs it. Geo Show, our goalie's going to need to change how they play with the over the net play when the puck's behind the net. No, because I want to just keep seeing it, and I want the increased offense.
Yes.
I don't even.
And on that one, it's more the skaters around responsibility. Like it's the defenseman. Yeah. He's got the better sight lines. You've got to make that your responsibility.
Right. It just means you can't let players sit behind the net and give them time and space to try something like that anymore. One of the defensemen's got to get aggressive and get back there. And then last one from Alex here. Spoken like a true Lightning fan, I let out a hearty chuckle. So there you go, RJ. It was a good one.
They're stacked. They are stacked.
They are stacked. Everything seems easy when it's like, well, why doesn't every team just do this? It's so easy. Well, we'll see this year, Alex. We'll see this year. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us after this one. It was, not the greatest of games as we talked about, but I thought this post game went really, really well. Just like always, love talking with everybody. Thanks for showing us the tentacle, RJ.
I'll try and get a better picture of it afterward and post it somewhere. But yeah, no problem.
Yeah. I mean, could you get a good view of it in the press box?
No, absolutely not. It was like 2 layers away from. Yeah, all the rigging was in the way.
Yeah, all right. Then yeah, we can post that out on Twitter. Alex, like the behind the net play is going to backfire at some point. You missed the pass; it's an odd man rush the other way. Yeah, but that again leads to more offense and excitement. So you're just giving
Keep
us
them
reasons
coming.
to do it more. All right, I will. We will see you all after the next game, which for right now is Tuesday. We'll see.
Yep.
we'll, we'll
Fingers
see.
crossed on that one.
Yep, and
We'll
then
see.
a podcast on Monday. So we'll see y'all later. Take care.